the skills, but also the principles that we should have to execute this new grand vision. It's going to rely upon philosophers, sociologists, psychologists, people that really look at the bigger picture, what motivates us, what structures can we put into place that matches our motivation rather than fight our motivation. How do we make decisions not to create things like social media or cigarettes or whatever it is where we're causing humans to behave in a way that it's not in their own self-interest. We have an opportunity to relook at all of that. And so we need these people that have made this analysis to help us make the right decisions in the future with AI.
Welcome to the golden age, let the whole world listen, turn the dial up, elevate, this is our ignition, take it to the limit, come and get with it. Welcome to the golden age, let the whole world listen, turn the dial up, elevate, this is our ignition, take it to the limit, come and get with it. If you tuned in, you already know the vibe, we're breaking through noise to the edge of the time, open your mind now, step into the sound, this is where the future gets built right now. If you're tuned in, you already know the play.
Welcome to another episode of The Golden Age. This is a show where we're going to explore AI, look at the ramification, and really focus on the possibility of abundance and all the good things that can happen. It may be a little bit disruptive, but both of us see paths toward just a better world and a brighter future and a more prosperous future. So let's do that. The 15th of April, 2026, and my name is Hector. I'm a techno-optimist and my co-host.
Hi, I'm Irene and I'm a psychologist.
Awesome. So you've got some stories for us today.
I do, and actually these are from about a week and a half ago, so it might be old news, but I think it's still very interesting.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just got like some headlines and I thought maybe we could discuss them. So the first one was, let's see here, AI investment isn't translating yet. So Goldman Sachs said that $450 billion in AI investment has contributed basically zero to US economic growth.
Mm-hmm.
I guess how are we comparing to other countries like China? Is their AI contributing to their economic growth? Or is it just across the board where it's just so new and it's just up and coming that it hasn't really made an impact yet? What do you think?
I think it's too new. I think as a
Mm-hmm.
portion of GDP, we probably are spending more than China is, and simply because all the stuff is over here. I mean, China is doing a lot, and they have probably half the world's AI researchers, but it's too early. If I invest $450 billion in something last year, do I really expect to get my return this year? I'm not sure that's really fair. But the fact is, I don't know if they were talking. Do you know what period of time they're talking about? Was it just in total for AI or a year?
I don't know.
No, it probably
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. I know that this year we're on track for the United States, private companies in the United States to spend more than 850 billion this year. And a lot of that will be stuff that started this year, not finished next year, but the money has to come. So that money is being allocated. And these are like large data centers largely. And they're, a big data center is going to be like a $50 billion project, at least, if not more. And those data centers make their money back by doing AI inference. And so that usually comes from customers. And so you're not going to get that return in any short period of time. In fact, it could be upwards of 5 to 7 years before those investors see something for it. So I think everyone wants to get in early, and I think that's what's going on because they understand the potential of it, and it could be they get the return in 2 or 3 years. That's what they're hoping. But I think worst case scenario, it's going to be more like 5 to 7 years. So I don't know what Goldman Sachs is trying to do. I mean, they know the same thing I do. I don't know. It seems like they're just trying to do a publicity thing to me.
Mm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
this is not really new information. Like, everyone saw this coming. Everyone got on board last year. Yeah, and so it's getting bigger. OpenAI said they want to do a initial public offering. SpaceX is going to do an IPO and that's going to include SpaceX, XAI, X, and I'm missing one, Starlink. Well, that's going to be folded into
Starlink.
one giant IPO. That's going to be a $2 trillion IPO, probably, if not bigger. And then who am I missing? Oh, Anthropic might IPO this year as well. So we're
Oh,
talking
really?
trillions of dollars coming from the retail investor market, people like you and me. So that's going to even dwarf this 450 number or even the 850 number. And that's largely coming from venture capitalists. But the retail market of investment is way bigger than the VCs. That's when people like you and me go, oh, I'll put like $10,000 into SpaceX. I think that's a pretty good bet. So it's just starting. So I don't think that article is going to do anything to anyone that's as an investor. I think people are already convinced.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear because if you look at Anthropic's revenue, it used to be a portion of OpenAI's, and then Anthropic focused on the enterprise market. And in February or March, it passed OpenAI, and now they're looking at a potential $30 billion a month profit. They're growing fast, and that was not expected. So I think the investors are hoping to see more of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause if they can get to say, I don't know, in the hundreds of billions of dollars of profit, then $1 trillion valuation is not correct. It'd be more like a $5 trillion valuation. So these are crazy numbers. So the numbers are so crazy that the $450 million just seems like, sure.
Right. Speaking of Anthropic, I've been using Claude a lot more, and I actually am starting to really, I might like it more than ChatGPT.
Hmm.
I'm really impressed with the documents it can produce. Like the
Yes,
layout
I
of them, they're
agree.
really nice and
Yeah,
professional looking.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like if you're making like a report, it'll format it for you. It's awesome. If you don't like it, you just tell it to do something a little bit different. It's like no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it reasons through all that. Where like ChatGPT, it's really hard to get it to produce documents. It just wants to spit things back into the chat window. I totally
Yeah,
agree.
I mean, it will produce documents, ChatGPT will, but they're very basic looking.
Hmm.
The ones that
Yeah,
Claude produces are just really impressive looking. They look very professional.
I agree.
So yeah, that's my 2 cents on using Claude a little bit more recently. Okay, the next headline was autonomous everything is coming. Uber invested 1.25 billion into 50,000 AI robotaxis, potentially replacing drivers. So robotaxis would be the same thing as kind of like the way what are they called again?
The Waymos.
Waymos. I
Yeah.
finally saw a handful of Waymos, by the way,
Oh, cool. Where at?
in Los Angeles. I was there
Yeah.
last weekend.
Yeah.
So I saw a ton of them, and we saw the little food delivery robot
Little,
type carts
yeah,
things.
the cart robot. Yeah.
Yeah, so we kept seeing those all over. We were like in West Hollywood area,
Hmm.
and yeah, so they were all over the place. Yeah, so autonomous everything. Uber is investing, and they won't need humans driving their Ubers anymore. Well, what
Well,
does that? Well, what does that mean exactly? I mean, they're at a robo taxi, so that's just another version of a Waymo, right? It's not that they're having robots drive their
yeah.
cars.
So
They're making cars
no,
that
it's
are
not. They're
auto.
not. The car is the robot, but what Uber's doing is there's not going to be Uber taxis, right? Uber wants this to be the underlying service. So they're going to Waymo. They're going to. I think there's like 10 other car companies that are trying to make autonomous vehicles, and Uber wants to be the app that all those go through. So they're partnering with all these people. They want to share like an ecosystem of how these vehicles work. And I guess the differentiator in some of these vehicles will be like comfort or elegance or size, or maybe they're cheaper, right? Maybe they're really budget and they get you to where you want to go for like 4 cents a mile versus 20 cents a mile, something like that. So yeah, Uber's really pushing on this. But I saw the CEO talk about this, and he expects in the next 3 years for the number of drivers, human drivers, to go up, which I was surprised to hear. It's counterintuitive. He says because what's going to happen is that the market's just going to get bigger. And he expects people to stop buying cars because the price is going to go down with these autonomous vehicles. But if the market's bigger, then there's still room for the humans. And he says there's going to be this. There's going to be like you might just want humans for whatever one reason or another. But says as long as there's growth, the human number will stay the same or go up for the foreseeable amount of time until I guess we have robot cars that are just so cheap. Like, why would you pay for the human one? But that's yeah, that's cool that they're doing that, and that's in direct competition with Tesla, because Tesla wants to be their own app, their own thing. And Tesla, you saw the Waymos, right? It has all these sensors and spinny things on it.
Yeah.
Tesla's not doing that. It's all vision. They don't need sensors. They just have cameras, and it's a totally different strategy. And so
Okay.
Waymo's a little bit ahead because they're using the sensors, but
Mm-hmm.
Elon is betting that uh, it'll be just as safe without the sensors. And in fact, those Waymos that you saw, that's a $140,000 car.
Wow.
And Elon thinks he can build a cyber taxi for 30,000. So that will be his win if he can get that done.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize they were so expensive.
It's all those sensors. It's just they're not. It's not like they're very specialized at this point in time.
Yeah, I was wondering, we were wondering what the little, they have little things on the top and on the sides that spin really fast. They look like fans
Mhm.
almost.
Yeah,
We were wondering, yeah, we looked it up and yeah, it said it was the sensors.
yeah.
That's
They use lidar
interesting.
and radar to do that. The lidar is, I think, closer, and the radar is further away. But
Cool. And so they use sensors and then Tesla uses cameras.
hmm
And cameras are
yeah.
just cheaper than those sensors.
Oh, yeah. The cameras are cheaper than, or just the same price as the camera on your phone. Which, if you look at the part list, I think your camera on your iPhone 15 or 16 is going to be like, oh, like $10, $9. It's really cheap.
Wow.
And
Is
a Tesla
once
Tesla has to have like, I'm imagining a new Tesla has 15 cameras on it. So that's the total cost.
is there like one that's safer than the other? Why would Waymo be using these really expensive sensors?
Because they don't have the data that Elon has. You remember, Elon has the vision of millions and millions of miles of driven time by humans, right? And he's kept that, and he uses
Oh,
that to train AI. So that data makes his AI way better at navigating through vision. And Waymo just doesn't have that, so they have to use the sensors.
oh, that's so interesting. So that all that information is really valuable.
Hmm
Because I think it was OpenAI that bought the info from, was it Reddit?
I believe so. Yeah.
And then, or was it X? What did X buy? Like, what were they using as their
That was the
to
reason Elon
train?
bought X. Elon bought X so X can feed
Okay,
Grok, and
got it.
that's exclusive. No one else can use that.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that fascinating? I think that's just so interesting how they're using, our information to yeah, to train AI. Which brings us to the next one. You might be training your replacement. DoorDash pays people to film chores for
Hmm
AI training. So I think we had heard about that, right? Because we had talked about that in one of our last
Yeah, because
episodes.
Amazon's been doing that too. Amazon's been putting little cameras
Yes.
on their delivery people,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only one reason for that. It's not quality control. It's training.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's yeah, and that seems to be pretty smart. You know what I did see is this isn't an app available here, but there's an app, I think it might be in China, where it'll pay you to record yourself doing household chores,
Mm-hmm.
folding your laundry, doing your dishes. That doesn't pay a lot, but they're trying to get people to record that data and feed it into Chinese models for autonomous robots.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the way Elon's doing that with his Optimus robots is he has a campus of robots, and all they do is practice things, practicing daily, every day, walking around, navigating, surprising things, doing chores. And so he's having the robots produce their data rather than humans. So we'll see how
Okay.
that works.
Yeah. And I thought I saw videos of like they already have robots in the hospitals doing, the easy stuff for
Hmm
patients. Um I don't know if you've seen that video. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if it was real, if it was AI, or I don't even know if it's in the
Oh,
US.
it's real. I mean, it does things like it'll like, there's still a nurse around. Rather than the nurse carrying the food to the patient, the robot does, right? And it's all automatic, so the food's never late. But the robots also carry the medications around. That way, everything's well tracked. And the nurse is like the last quote last mile delivery. Like the robot doesn't give the patient the food, the nurse gives the patient the last couple feet and makes sure everything's working right. But it's just taking the load off of the nurses and giving them some extra time. Seems like a good
Yeah.
idea to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how cost effective it is, but it must be if hospitals are doing it. Hospitals are all about profit, you know.
Some of the comments that I saw were like, man, if I was sick or if I was dying in a hospital, one of those robots is like the last thing I would want to see. Yeah. All right. Well, the next one is, let's see. AI tools are consolidating. OpenAI acquired Astral and integrated it into its ecosystem. What's Astral?
I don't know Astral.
No,
Let's see.
either.
But this is okay. So this is a trend. A lot of the frontier labs, so Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and XAI, they're starting to accumulate these smaller companies to add capabilities to their system. So Astral,
Astral,
A-S-T-R-A-L.
Astral. Yeah. So OpenAI acquired Astral and integrated it into its ecosystem.
Okay, this is a B2B, business to business thing that automates retail. So that makes sense. I think we've discussed before. OpenAI has been all about the consumer. They want to
Mm-hmm.
have they want to have everyone have that $20 subscription. They have 900 million subscribers worldwide. They are not doing as well as an enterprise as Anthropic is. So what this is a play to hit that business sector. So that makes total sense. This is automating your retail empire. Check out milliseconds, blazing fast automation. It's funny. There's
So,
so many companies. Like I hear about new ones every single day.
yeah. So what exactly does that mean? So is are we not seeing, like, is OpenAI going to have new features now that they're with Astral, or what exactly does
Well,
that mean?
so they want to grow their business and not just selling tokens to other companies, then to make products to sell that product to, right? Because what's happening is OpenAI is selling tokens, and then someone else is enhancing the experience by using those tokens for a certain purpose, and then they sell that. I think OpenAI was like, well, I want to get that profit that that company did, and so they want to make it easier for businesses directly to take advantage of OpenAI. And
Mm,
I imagine this ties into other business systems, and this then uses OpenAI to replace people doing the logistics side of it and the accounting side of it and all that.
mm-hmm.
But who knows? Sometimes they buy companies like this just to get a couple of patents that are very useful. So it's really
Yeah.
hard to say.
And I'm thinking, just for, our new listeners who maybe not, just joining us or are not too familiar with all these companies that we're talking about. OpenAI owns ChatGPT,
Hmm.
Anthropic owns Claude,
Hmm.
and X owns, is X just
Grok,
XAI? Grok,
Grok,
Grok, that's it.
Grok. Yeah,
Okay, Grok.
and
That's one I
then
haven't used that often. And then there's Gemini, who's
Google,
owned
Gemini.
by,
Well, Google's owned by Alphabet, but Gemini is part of Google. So
okay, so Google owns Gemini. Got it. Are there any
yeah,
other ones? Or are those the
I mean,
main?
really, those are the main ones. And at this point in time, like Elon caught up to them and he's a little bit behind. So I would put first tier, I put Anthropic,
Mm-hmm.
Google, OpenAI, and then Grok right underneath them. But after that, it really falls off. Like it's a long way down. I don't think
Yeah.
you could call anyone else a frontier lab other than
Yeah.
those four.
So you put Google slash Gemini above OpenAI ChatGPT.
No, 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 no. Well, okay. If we want me to rank them, I would say Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and Grok.
So you do put Gemini over ChatGPT.
Yeah, that my guess is that's going to be short-lived because
Mm,
OpenAI is about to release new models
mm-hmm.
that would be more comparable to like the Opus and the. You probably use Sonnet, right, with Anthropic?
Yeah, that's the one it
Yeah,
usually defaults to. I can switch it, but it usually is defaulting to Sonnet.
yeah. So I guess we should tell people about how that works. So Anthropic has Claude as their main interface, their main GPT LLM, but you can choose
And LLM stands for large language
large
model.
language model. Yeah. But you can choose if you want like the what it comes down to is price. The best one is Opus, but it's really expensive and you'll burn through your subscription or burn through tokens very quickly. And Opus is really good at just thinking, honestly. It just spends more time thinking. That's why it uses more tokens. Sonnet is a good, like balanced one. I found that when it comes to writing, there's no reason to go to Opus unless it's highly technical. That almost never happens. So any business writing or even creative writing, Sonnet's great. Sonnet 4.6. And then there is Haiku, which is the fast one and the cheapest one. And frankly, for like 80% of stuff, it's probably fine. And then so if you're using a subscription, you'll have like twice as much time to say, like say a subscription is like gives you like, let's say gives you 10 hours using Opus. Then you'll have like 30 hours using Sonnet and then like 100 hours using Haiku. That's kind of a relative breakdown of how much more expensive the better ones are. But yes, it defaults to Sonnet because I think the company thinks that that's a good. They're not screwing the customer
Mm.
over because they are getting a good product.
Mm.
And if the customer wants cheaper, they can go cheaper. If the customer wants more expensive, they can go more expensive. But that's why they structure it that way.
So I paid, so the one, I got the subscription where I paid for an entire year, and I paid, I think, it was a little bit of a discount if you paid for the entire year, and I paid $200.
Hmm.
And so it's not unlimited, is what you're saying, because there's a certain amount of tokens. See, I haven't gotten to a point where, like, I don't know, like, I haven't been told, your tokens are almost out. There was one time when I was trying to upload open or install OpenClaw, where I
Hmm.
think I spent like 4 or 5 hours. I had, trying to figure it out with Claude helping me. I did get to a point where it said, and but it didn't use the term tokens. It just said you've used up all your, and I don't remember what exactly it said, but basically it said you have to wait like a few hours now before you can use this again. Was
Yeah, I
that me
forgot the
running
language
out
they
of
use.
tokens?
Essentially, but so there's a different way they cap it. I think at least three different ways. They cap it monthly. So there is like a sort of raw limit of tokens that you can use per month, and not they don't tell you what it is because it also would depend on which model you're using, which like submodel you're using, whether you're using Opus or Sonnet or Haiku. There's also a weekly limit that you can hit, and I think the weekly limit is hours that you're using the system, and then there's a daily limit, and I think the daily limit is number of responses in a conversation.
Mm.
So like I feel like it's around like 60 or I feel like it's less than 100, like 100 queries, 100 responses. If you hit that, they're going to say, okay, you got to chill until like 5 hours from now. And then you can try again. So, because I have definitely hit all those limits. Like
Oh, you
I've
have?
hit where it says, yeah, I've hit where it says come back. Like it's like 1 o'clock. Come back at 5. I've done
Mm-hmm.
that. I've hit it where it says come back in 3 days.
Wow.
And then
Days.
I've hit also. We'll see you next month. So
Wow. I would panic, I think. What if you're like in the middle of something super important and all of a sudden
well, no, that's fine because then that offer you there's a link that says you're gonna keep on working, buy some tokens.
pay more?
Yeah,
Okay, so there is the option of you just have to pay.
absolutely. Yeah, and they want that to happen if you're a power user. So what I'm doing is called power user activity. What
Mm-hmm.
they count on is that all the people doing this subscription base, they're using it like 20, 30% of the capacity. They count on
Mm.
that. That's why it's priced the way it is. If they used it like I use it, then they'd be charging me $100 a month at least. So they think, well, there's probably like only 5% of people that are power users, and then there's this middle percent that uses like half of what they should use, and then there's the majority that use like 10% because they think it's cool, but they only use it like every couple of days and for these kind of like spotty things. Like they use like Google, like a Google search. How many Google searches do you do like before AI? How many Google searches did you do a day? Like what, 4 or 5? Like that's kind of what they would expect people to do
Mm.
with Claude. Is just like use it like Google, use it 4 or 5 times a day. Well, give me a recipe for oatmeal cookies. Oh, I don't know. Help me repolish my shoes. I don't know, something, that kind of stuff. And that's what the majority uses, and they're using like $5, $3 worth of compute, but they're paying twenty
Mm-hmm.
dollars a month.
Right.
That's how they get you.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that there's a version, at least for ChatGPT, there's a $200 a month version. I've never hit any
And
limit with ChatGPT, and I've used it like a lot in like a day for different reasons, but a lot, and I've never hit any type of limit. What is the difference between a $20 subscription and a $200 a month subscription?
it's just a multiplier of how much time compute or tokens that you get. That's all it is. So same principle
Really?
applies. They want someone like me to go, God dang it, I keep hitting that limit. I don't like having to buy tokens. I'm gonna go to $200 a month. Great. What they're expecting me as a power user is to use $100 to compute and pay $200 a month.
Mm.
No, they'll think, well, people like Hector are gonna use $100, but 5% of people like Hector are gonna max it out, and then the same thing would apply.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to get like hooked. They want you to get hooked on that crack and then hit that $200 limit, constantly pay for tokens, and then just give up and go, you know what? Screw all the subscription stuff. I'm just buying tokens. That's what they want you to do. They want you to just get that addiction going. So if I pay the 200, I can guarantee you I will hit the limit because I know I need to utilize what I'm paying for because I'm just that kind of
Mm-hmm.
person to get my value out of things.
Yeah.
And I have bought tokens actually from Anthropic in the past when I was on a project and I'm like, I don't want to move this. I don't want to take this project and move it to Chat GPT or Gemini. I just want to finish it here. And I think I bought like $30 in tokens. That was early on in the OpenClaw era.
So it's just the amount that you can use it. It's not better memory. It's
No,
not deeper research. It's just the amount that you can use it.
yes, and the better
Okay.
models use more tokens than the faster models.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised I've never hit any limit with ChatGPT. I've hit a limit with Claude, but not with
Mhm.
ChatGPT, and I have used, yeah, so I wonder, but ChatGPT has a limit also?
It does, and I have hit the limit. Although I've hit the limit more with Anthropic than with ChatGPT.
You've hit the limit with ChatGPT.
Yeah, so ChatGPT is seemingly more generous because they're consumer based, right? They don't want to like
Yeah.
they don't really want the consumer to have to make decisions to spend more money.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're just trying to adjust the model accordingly to where it gives value to the consumer without them having to hit the limit. Of course, it's the same thing with them. They want everyone to utilize less than what they pay for. I think we talked about this before. It's like joining a gym, right? They don't want you to come to the
Mm-hmm.
gym. It's the last thing they want. They're oversubscribed. They have way more memberships than they can service. And
Yeah,
that's
if
the business
everyone showed
model.
up all at once, they'd be
Yeah.
in trouble. Okay, I think this one's a really interesting one. Digital humans are real. AI recreated Val Kilmer for a film using a
What?
digital version of him. And apparently he passed away. I was unaware of that.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't too long after Top Gun 2. Did you see
Really?
that?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say with Tom Cruise, but obviously with Tom Cruise.
Even the one with Tom Cruise? Yeah, that Top Gun.
Sorry, that was a. I'm not blonde, but that was like a blonde moment.
um,
Yeah, so they've created, and I thought that all the celebrities weren't they like, didn't they go on strike or something because of this? Because they didn't want this to happen.
I think the unions, the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, got really involved in that. Yeah, I think that I think I recall they sued somebody, and so that caused a lot of the retail visual models to start banning that. That happened a long time ago, I think, like a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
Long time in AI speak. It's a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I guess this movie's coming out with a an AI Val Kilmer who's no longer with us.
So
So just like,
this is like the stuff you see on X where someone made their own movie with, Keanu Reeves fighting Tom Cruise. This is an actual studio that's doing this then.
yeah,
Ooh,
that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. I'll tell you why I like that because this is my dream. Okay, it's time to reveal the nerd. I did not particularly care for the Star Wars sequels. And by sequels, I mean the last three movies that came out, right?
Mhm.
I loved the original three. I've grown to like the prequels, the one where, Darth Vader's a kid and grows up and becomes Darth
Mhm.
Vader. But I didn't much care for the sequels. What I would like to see is an AI generated sequel to Return of the Jedi with the original actors and voices. Obviously, you can't do that with real people, but this is a start of doing it and realizing what or the Star Wars sequel should have been. My prediction is that Disney will do this
Mhm.
because they'll realize that they don't. I'll just make the model make my own movie,
Yeah.
and I'll do it. I'll do it as soon as it hits like $200. Like $200, I can have my own perfect looking Star Wars movie. Hell yeah! And they do not want that. Disney does not want that. So as fast as they can, they're going to make these things to satisfy the market. And then I'll like, oh, I'll just watch Disney, so I don't have to make my own. Um, so these Hollywood companies are going to be massive AI generating companies. They don't know it yet, though. I think.
You don't think so? You don't think they're preparing? I mean, I remember years ago they said that there were people who were they were no longer buying studios. I think there was one specific person, celebrity or something that was about to buy a huge studio and then realized, do
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
it's Tyler Perry.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
that's it.
he's
And that
like, well,
was years ago.
Tyler Perry's smart though. So some of these studio heads are just not good business people, and they just want to have the old momentum of the old studio, and they're just not forward thinkers. Where Tyler
Hmm.
Perry is, and you're right, he saw it super early.
Yeah, because this was a while ago.
And he is one that absolutely probably is going to do that, and and probably will be first, if not one of the first. I was my is my
Mm-hmm.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, then this one I don't quite understand, but maybe you will. Or no, small teams, big impact. Cursor AI, which I don't know what that is. Cursor AI beat major models with a 50-person team.
hmm
Do you know what Cursor AI is?
I believe they do AI for programming, but let me double check
So
because
they
like
beat
I
major
get a
models
lot of
with a.
these get these mixed up. Yeah, AI coding platform. So before GPT or ChatGPT Codex, which is where people go for programming, and before Claude Code, which is a model specifically for programming and software development, there was a company called Cursor that used their own models to assist developers and programmers with their code. And I don't know the CIO's name, but or CEO's name, but I remember they're like really good. And this company had massive growth. And I guess maybe even still growing. But so you were saying Cursor beat out who? Did it say who?
Let's see, beat major models. That's all it says. Major models with a 50-person team.
Oh, then they probably are talking about Anthropic and ChatGPT. I feel like that did happen, but they may have that Anthropic and OpenAI may have caught up. But here's what they're talking about. So, and this is a real big problem in enterprise and in industry. Um, let's take a big company that's not IT but uses IT. I don't know, like an insurance company like Prudential, right? Prudential probably has, I guess, 20,000 employees worldwide, and they probably employ a couple thousand developers, and they probably outsource to another 5,000 developers. They probably have a very in-house programming intensive environment. What Cursor is doing and other companies are doing is taking those 1,000 developers or 2,000 developers and replacing it with a 50-person team. And the way you do that is you utilize AI. And because the way these big monolithic companies work is they have the developers work on those tiny little pieces here and there, and then there's supervisors and bureaucracy and HR, and they're just designed in this old way that's not very efficient. And if in a 50-person team, if you're working on a product or a application, it's you and one other guy, or maybe just you. And so you're nimble, you're fast, you outsource the work to AI. In this case, Cursor has their own model, and you can beat larger companies. But the fact of the matter is, Anthropic, I believe, only has like 1,500 employees. Anthropic's pretty small, and they're doing the exact same thing. Whereas I think OpenAI is much bigger. Google obviously is much, much bigger. I think Grok is also small. So they're running like a startup. A startup is only going to have like 12 people, then it has like 25 people. When the startup has like 20 or 50 people, that's where the massive growth happens. That's where they go from having 5 customers to 500 customers. And then they have to upscale their staffing. And then the growth keeps on going, but it doesn't grow like this. It grows kind of like that. And that's been the model of business for the longest time. But when you bring AI into it, the bigger your team is, you do not get a return based on the size of the team. In fact, sometimes it goes the opposite way. So Cursor's adopting that approach. It's a startup approach. It's a small team approach. It's a one person just doing it, or two people are doing it approach. So it makes a lot of sense. Like if I were to start a company right now, I would hire one developer, if that, maybe zero.
Just use your open claw and
Just
sub
use my open
agents.
claw. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If I knew what I was starting, I knew the business really well. Yeah, and if it was not that complex, I probably would not hire a developer. And
Hmm.
if I did, that developer would be there only to use the AI that I can provide them. That's it. There'd just be validating code, like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. The fact is, like the guy who wrote OpenClaw, I always get his name wrong. It's Steinberger, I think.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
he does not look at 80% of the code that AI makes for him. He's just given up. It's like he used to validate every piece of code. Now he's just like, I just give up. I assume it's doing much better than I could do. That's crazy. That's
Wait, he
so if
used to
he's
look at it, meaning he wanted to check it and make sure
yeah,
it was,
yeah,
and now
yeah.
he just trusts it and it's just like, I'll take it as
Unless it's something
is.
that he wants to learn or he's interested in, and he's like, oh, how did it solve that problem? That's the only time he looks at it. But if he knows it's just a routine thing, it's like I'm sure it's fine and bug free, or has less bugs than I would have made. So that's what developers are going to be doing. They're going to be validating and tackling the things that are interesting rather than doing the brunt of the work, which is, I think Steinberger would say he's probably doing 5% coding at the most right now.
That reminds me, I was, because I now have OpenClaw installed on my laptop. Thanks to you. Thank you so
Yeah,
very much.
sure, of course, of
So I
course.
had been watching some videos on like how to use it, what to do with it. And one of the things I learned was if you kind of what you had told me, you explained to me, you can go on GitHub and get what are they called? Is it called instructions or directions, like something you want to teach your OpenClaw to do or give it access to? You take it
Well,
and you
there's skills that you can get.
skills. Okay, maybe that's
Yeah.
that's that was it. So, and some of these skills can be a little dangerous. It might give it too
Yes.
much access to something that you don't want it to have access to. But what I heard on this video, this guy explaining, he said you could take one of those skills, but he's kind of said the same thing you did. Make sure that a lot of people are using it. That's not something new that hardly you can because I guess you can tell how many people have used it or something, right? Or rated it or something.
Yes.
And so he said what he did was he would give it to his open claw, say, check this out. Is it safe? And then the
Hmm.
open claw would say yes or no. And if it said like yes, this person would say recreate it
Yes.
to do the
Yeah.
exact same so that you can do the same thing but recreate it. So that way it was 100% safe.
Yes. I think that's a
And I
really good
thought that
practice.
was yeah, so
Plus, then the your claw has the context of having created that, which could be useful in itself. And so you won't have to spend new tokens. Like you could definitely say, take what I've downloaded, and after you used it for a while, you're like, oh, I kind of like that, but I wish it did this, and so you want to modify it. Well, your OpenClaw
yeah.
could certainly do that. Burn tokens to do that. It would burn a lot less tokens to do that if it had created the original. So there's a couple of ways that would benefit you, I think.
Do you want to explain what OpenClaw is to any one of our
That's a
new
good point.
listeners?
Yeah. So OpenClaw is a phenomenon that started in February of this year. It was written by a person who was a well-known developer, but had retired. But he had a lot of hobbies that he was still pursuing, and most of his hobbies involved coding. And he was trying to solve couple of really simple problems. And one of them is just keeping track of his own life. He said to himself, I wonder if there's a way I can utilize, AI, in other words, the tokens that you can buy from the major providers, where it's way more customized for my experience. In other words, it's going to have more memory. It's not going to have to be in a chat window necessarily, or at least on a web page chat window. And it knows who I am, and it knows me deeper than OpenAI could. Because obviously, you can tell OpenAI who you are. It does remember some things, but he wondered how if that was a deeper experience, what would that look like? And so he wrote this program, which is open source, and open source means that everyone's free to look at all the code. It's not hidden, and people can contribute to the code. It's very different than like a retail product that really don't know how it works. And then he released it to primarily at first run on your computer or a computer in your bedroom or your place of residence, which is a totally different experience than we're all used to. We're all used to going onto the cloud on the web to use AI, but he says, no, I want the thing to be here. I want to have control over it and its operating system and its hardware, but I want it to utilize the intelligence out in the cloud. And that was called at the time Claudebot. And they had to, because Claude. Claude, he spelled it with Claude like with a D, CALWD. And so, the lobster was a mascot, but then Anthropic didn't like it because it sounds like Claude, Claude. And so now it's called OpenClaw. And it was the fastest growing open source project in history. And pretty much every developer in the world tried it at least. And many are still using it. And many IT people tried it. And many regular people started trying it because it's a totally different experience. It's like using Chat GPT for the first time. It is just that different. And people are building businesses on it. There's at least one instance of someone running a company with $1 billion valuation using their OpenClaw.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So this is a way that even if you're not technical, if you spend some time with it, you definitely can start a business and have a good portion of the business run in your OpenClaw. It is a learning curve. It's not for everyone. It is a little bit technical, but what it illustrates is what the experience is going to be like for all of us in a couple of years. So if you want to get in early on that experience, I would recommend checking it out, or at least jump on YouTube and watch some videos about it, learn about it, because this is like when the PCs came to the home. It's very similar to that experience. It's really transformative for the entire AI industry. So much so that Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, went to this guy and offered him some crazy amount of money. I'm assuming it's got the billion word in it to bring OpenClaw into OpenAI and let Peter Steinberger continue to run it as an open source project because OpenAI just wanted to be that much closer to this thing and wanted to have a little bit of influence over it. And, they gave this individual like several billion dollars at least to just run it with OpenAI. But it still operates with all the different labs out there. They didn't make any restrictions, and in fact, you can even run it with models that run on your own hardware, which is a brand new thing that's starting to happen. So you don't have to pay for tokens anymore. You just pay for electricity on your computer, and
Okay,
that's
wait.
that's the future.
Can we go into that a little bit deeper? Because
Yeah.
okay, so my first question, well, first of all, I try to install it by myself on my own, and I am not a technical person. I know how to use a laptop, and that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
But I did try to install it using at first ChatGPT, and I might have made a mistake by using ChatGPT to help me install it because I tried to do something else recently because I got my new laptop finally,
Mhm.
and I was trying to optimize it, and I used ChatGPT and it messed it all up, and I had to uninstall Microsoft and then reinstall it. And then once it was reinstalled, then I used Claude to optimize it, and it gave me complete different directions than what ChatGPT had given me, and it did what I wanted it to do a lot faster. I think I should have used Claude to help me install OpenClaw in the first place. I think that may have helped me, and maybe I would have been able to install it by myself. But I forget where I was going with this. But it is, I mean, because I used ChatGPT, I found it very difficult to install. And as you know, I wasn't even able to. I feel like I got kind of close. I spent probably, I don't know, I would say at least between 10 to 15 hours trying to
Mhm.
install it. Before I finally was like, okay, I'm so sick and tired of sitting here trying to figure this out and getting and being frustrated. And then you installed it for me. But so I don't know. I don't know. I guess my point is for me, it seemed really difficult to do it for someone who isn't familiar with all, the technology behind computers and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, you got my laptop once I'd been trying to do all this stuff. I don't know how, like, could you tell if I was close or not? Or was it something where you just can't tell? You just kind of
Oh no, you were
started
close.
fresh. I
Yeah,
was?
yeah, you were real
Okay.
close. Yeah, it was actually all there. But there's the number of steps where things can go wrong, and if you get bad advice from ChatGPT, it will go wrong. I think you got a little bit unlucky, frankly. And here's the reason why. And this is something, I don't know, at this point, I feel like there's so many advice YouTube videos on OpenClaw, but I've not seen one that really is comprehensive.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe we should make one. But there's a couple of things where it can go wrong using ChatGPT. Well, using any model. So you got to remember, ChatGPT is a pleaser. They want to get you the answer right away. ChatGPT's memory and its most recent model is from 2000, late 2004, I think. So if it relies upon its own training, it will not even know what OpenClaw is. And if you give it the answer that makes it think that it knows what it is, like it might have some assumptions about it. Um, it could even argue with you. That doesn't even exist. What are you talking about? But the worst thing it
Mm-hmm.
can do is guess correctly what it is and then not have the initiative to say, she's probably installing something that's very brand new and I can't really guess what that's going to be. So I'm going to go to the web and go to the OpenClaw documentation and find out exactly what she should be doing today. If you didn't ask that question, there's a very good chance it's going to give you old information. And if old information, it's just not going to help you, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
OpenClaw related. So, it's people say, "Oh, just ask AI to help you set up OpenClaw." True, that can work, but that can go wrong. And so you really have to make sure that your whoever model you're talking to understands fully the context that what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it knows like, oh, she's asking a question about OpenClaw, I better go say, what version are you trying to install? I'm going to go to the documentation and find out exactly what to do. Oh, you've run into a problem? Oh, I'm going to go to Reddit and see. It's been a post in the past 2 days about that version and what she's trying to do. And Claude does that much better than OpenAI right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more proactive. It's more thinking about what do they really want, and where ChatGPT is like, I just want to get you a quick answer and move you along.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting with Claude. I forget what I was doing, but I'm just becoming more familiar with Claude and because I've been using it more. And one of the things it did tell me when I was trying to figure out like how the projects work, and it did tell me that it only has information from up until August 2025. But if you ask it, hey, do research, research today's weather in Africa, it
Hmm.
will go and find out something that is very recent, but you have to tell it to.
Hmm.
Otherwise, its general information is only up until August 2025, which I thought was really interesting. So you do have to prompt it to look at information that is current to today's date if that's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
that's that's generally something you should be aware of, depending on the question that you're asking.
yeah.
Oh, and sometimes I said sometimes Claude will just do it, but ChatGPT almost never does it. And I think that'll change. I think maybe in a couple of weeks the new model will come out and they'll add that capability to just think a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more about the context. Like, well, for example, I think if you open up a brand new ChatGPT account with no history and you said help them with OpenClaw, what did you say? What's that? And you might even try to guess. Maybe it means this,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't guess correctly. Zero
Mm-hmm.
context. It would have no idea. Where yeah, where Claude has a chance, I think, to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so these are the reasons why there's still spikiness in the AI experience, and this is why there's so many skeptics and so many people that go, "Oh, it's just a predictor, statistical predictor. It's not really that useful. It hallucinates." Yeah, there's spiky behavior still, but
Yeah.
don't let the spiky behavior dissuade you from the power of the tool.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to have a little bit of information on how to use it, and experience changes completely.
Right. It's just these little pieces of info like this, like
Hmm.
now I know Claude only goes up to August 2025. There was a viral video going around where people were asking ChatGPT, how did Charlie Kirk die or who killed Charlie Kirk?
Oh my
And
God!
the answer was Kirk is still alive. There's no news or evidence of him not being
Right,
alive.
right,
And so I'm assuming it's probably that reason, right? It's only unless you
yeah.
tell it, like look at today's news, it's only going up to a certain time
Yeah. And part of
where
that is greed, because if I gave it the perfect capability to think about every query that you give it, say, who killed Charlie Kirk? They could very well just say, well, before you answer, go look up Charlie Kirk and then answer. But
hmm
that would cause them to spend more money to burn more tokens to provide you that service, and that would cause your experience to be reduced because then you burn through tokens faster. For every question you ask, you burn through twice as many tokens. So they're trying to balance it out to where it's in their best profit. They get the most profit out of the user experience, where you're generally happy, but you're actually not getting the best service possible. That's
hmm
intentional. But the thing is, that's only temporary because the price of tokens has gone
is go
down and down and down, and it may be 100 times cheaper this time next year than it is right now. So they'll be able to add capabilities where this experience will be much better, because the tokens are that much more inexpensive.
You don't think that at some point they're going to be like, all right, we've got everyone hooked, we've got everyone addicted, they can't do their jobs without AI now, we're going to jack up the prices.
I mean, yeah, in the long term, but the infrastructure of AI is going to grow so fast that they're going to have trouble jacking up the prices. Honestly, because it's going to get so much cheaper. Like, I think a token today is like 1/10,000th of what a token costs, 4 years ago. It's ridiculous. And if you look at all the CEOs and the people in the know, they expect that trend to continue. So they're going to have to try really hard to burn as many tokens as possible to keep the price even.
Hmm.
And it's going to be a race to make it so good that you'll be willing to pay more. And then who knows how it's going to work in the future. I mean, there's people talking like AI should be like a human right, because how can you survive? Well, I mean, there's people say
Oh
that
my
that medical
God.
medical care is a human right. There's definitely people that say that. It's like, you shouldn't have to buy it. This is going to be as not as important, but in the same ballpark as medical care. And so
Well,
how does that work out?
yeah, I was going to say we can survive without AI, but who knows? Who knows what the future is going to be like? And maybe we won't be able to survive without AI because everything's going to be
I mean,
dependent on AI.
could you prosper
So,
without a cell phone and cell phone service? No, you couldn't. You literally could not prosper in this world. In the world that you live in and I live in, we could not. We could.
not in the world that we live in. But
Right.
if we were to go, live off grid, we
Sure.
probably could.
It'd be fine. Absolutely. But I think AI is like a cell phone times 100, if not more, in terms of
Yeah.
how reliant we'll be upon it.
Yeah.
Um, unfortunately, but I think it's to the benefit of everybody in the end. It's just going to be a bit of a learning curve, bit of an
Mm-hmm.
adjustment because there's a lot of big questions that have to be answered. You know, how do you pay for AI? Is it just going to let the market conditions do it, or is it government get involved? Does capitalism even work when AI is providing 90% of the economy?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. I don't. There are really a lot of smart people that say that no one's humans won't have to work and they'll get universal high income. That doesn't sound like capitalism to me, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like socialism, honestly. And socialism has a very bad track record if you look at human history. Different economic system that hasn't happened yet is probably the most likely outcome.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That reminds me of a story. It's kind of off topic, but I think it's really interesting. It just shows how greedy, our society can be. There, Nestle, I guess, I don't know how long ago this happened, but with baby formula, they went to Africa and they had their representatives dress up as medical professionals, and they went to some small town in Africa and were giving out baby formula to mothers who were
Mhm.
breastfeeding. They gave them just enough, and they promoted it as like, oh, this is really healthy for your baby, like you want to give this to them. And they gave them just enough so that they would give it to their babies long enough where their own natural breast milk dried up,
Yeah,
and so then they became dependent on
that's
that baby
crazy.
formula. And this is Nestle that did this. And they've been trying to privatize water for a while. They feel like it's not a human right. Yeah, so it just made me realize, like, wow, like, I mean, there's so much greed out there. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to do something crazy where, they just they make you dependent on something, make you addicted on something, give it to you for free, and then they they pull the reins in.
Yeah, I mean, this is why there's anti-capitalist philosophies and anti-capitalist people, because that is a bad product of the system. We have it structured so these private corporations who are entities, they're like individuals, right? You form an LLC, so the LLC takes liability, not you. The LLC has kind of like rights like a person does. But the way you run these companies, by law, if you are public and you have a board and you're making decisions. By law, you have an obligation to the shareholder to maximize your profits. And there's only so many ways to do that. And when the easy ways and the beneficial ways run out, these people are compelled to do things like that. That's not a great structure. And because things like that can happen, but that's maybe the last
Yeah.
lever they can pull to increase their profit margins. And a lot of bad decisions get made, like especially in pharmaceuticals, where they influence physicians to use things they shouldn't have used, and we've seen that play out. I think it's good to look at that. I mean, I forgot who was it that said, is it Churchill that said democracy is one of the worst political systems ever invented, but it's better than every other one that was ever used. So he's like,
They
I'm
everything
paraphrasing
sucks.
badly. Everything sucks. This sucks less, basically.
Yeah.
And he's probably right. It's like it's not perfect. Representative democracy has problems. Direct democracy has problems. Our system has problems. The representative republic has problems, and capitalism has problems. And so, but you have to look at the flip side. The flip side of it is like, how did we get to this point where we have now the opportunity to potentially have abundance? Poverty and extreme hunger that has gone down over the past 50 years, largely as because of the pro because of capitalism and markets have grown. The proliferation of capitalism has grown, and that has caused abundance. But that's through a very particular system that focuses on profit. So, but the next thing is going to be, I don't know. This is why it goes back to, and I think maybe we'll talk about this time or next time, the skills, but also the principles that we should have to execute this new grand vision. It's going to rely upon philosophers, sociologists, psychologists, the people that really look at the bigger picture and what motivates us, what structures can we put into place that matches our motivation rather than fight our motivation. How do we make decisions not to create things like social media or cigarettes or whatever it is, where we're causing humans to behave in a way that it's not in their own self-interest. We have an opportunity to relook at all of that, and so we need these people that have made this analysis to help us make the right decisions in the future with AI. And I don't see that happening as much as I think it should be happening.
By the way, did you ever watch what was that one movie by the Obamas that was
I did.
um you
That was
did
a
what did
weird
you think
movie.
of it? Wasn't it weird?
It's a weird movie. I thought it was, and I felt like it didn't finish the story.
Yeah,
But
it was like such a open-ended, right? It was like
yeah,
not satisfying at all. What was the name
yeah.
of it?
I can't
Get
remember
Away
now. You
from
told me
This
last time.
World, or
Yeah,
yeah, you just gotta
it's
Google the movie that the Obamas produced and it'll pop up.
yeah. Well,
But
I
yeah,
liked it actually. I did like it, but it was weird.
it was weird, but yeah, it wasn't there like a lot of weird symbolism in there?
Hmm.
It was such a strange movie, and for the Obamas to produce it, it was crazy. And then I
Leave
wanted
the
to
world
ask you,
behind. Leave the world
leave the
behind.
world behind. That's it.
Yeah,
Thank
I was
you.
looking at my Netflix history. Um, yeah, just Ethan Hawke though. I like him a lot. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
I
good.
forgot he was in it. I knew Julia Roberts was in it, Ethan Hawke was in it, and then there was another main actor, the one that has all the water, that's like hoarding all the water.
Yeah.
Who was that again? It was another big actor.
Shoot.
It wasn't Kevin Bacon, was it? Or was it
Was
Kevin
it Kevin
Bacon?
Bacon?
I don't remember, but I think it might have been Kevin Bacon.
It was Kevin Bacon.
It was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he
Yeah.
plays the guy that has all the stuff and they want to trade. What is it that they want from him? Oh, like some medication or something.
Hmm.
And they go to him
Yeah.
and he has like he's got his
Yeah.
big old
It's
rifle.
definitely a movie I would recommend to people to see. It's
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, why would the Obamas make this movie? And it's just weird.
So
Weird.
weird. So many weird, different, small little things like the deer, and then yeah, all the self-driving cars all crashed together, and the
Hmm.
plane dropping all the red notes, and yeah, the immigrant wanting help, and then the guy taking off and not helping, and yeah, it was
It
in the
it
weird
really
sounds, and
it would have fit in as a Black Mirror episode. I don't know if you've seen any of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I didn't notice this, but people said that, you know how in the bedroom that the main bedroom where they're staying, in
Hmm.
this BRB or ABN, wait, what is it?
Is it an
Airbnb?
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 Airbnb? R&B?
I don't know what's wrong with me today.
I think we're both
Air
tired.
the Airbnb, they have that big mural behind the bed with like
Hmm.
it's like a storm, and then throughout the movie, people said that it just gets darker and more clouds or something like that. Like it changes throughout the movie, even though it's supposed to be just a painting. But there's all
Oh,
these little small nuance things that you can, if you pay attention, apparently it's like it's really weird. Yeah. And then was going to ask, did you ever get a chance to watch the God, what was the other one? Was it The Social Experiment? No, that's not it.
The Social
Oh
Network?
God. No,
No.
not The Social Network. Oh, it's gonna bug me. It's a documentary about all the heads of these, like all the social media platforms, talking about how social media is being used to influence and sway things. And
Mm.
The Social Dilemma. That's it. The Social Dilemma. That's another one
No,
I would.
I haven't got a chance to watch that one. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
put
think
that on
we
my
should
list.
all watch The Social Dilemma. It's really eye-opening. And it just kind of, I don't know, it reminds me a little bit, like I wonder how AI is going to shape human behavior, because I feel like social media shaped human behavior, and that so many people became keyboard warriors, right? They became like bullies behind a screen where it was easy to, be an a-hole and be racist, or like,
Mm.
whatever it was, like because you have the safety of being behind a screen and anonymous. And so there was even, I remember after the pandemic, there was a story I read about one school where all the kids came back, and there was like an excessive amount of physical fights between all these
Mm.
teenagers. And they were like,
Hmm.
what's going on? And it was because these kids, came into their teens during those 2 years that we were during in the pandemic and behind screens. And they got so used to like saying whatever they wanted to behind a screen. And then when they went back to school in person and they didn't know any better and they were saying those same things in person,
It hits
it was
differently.
causing it hits differently. Exactly. And so there was all these fights and they realized, oh my God, it's because these kids haven't learned that they can't act the same way in person that they can behind their computer screen. You
Hmm.
know, and things and like ChatGPT, it's such a people pleaser. It like validates anything and everything that we're saying, and I feel like it takes to a whole different level because now it's more of like, I don't know, it's almost like a person validating you. I did read this really interesting thing. I don't know how true it is, but it did say that AI, or specifically ChatGPT, is causing a high percentage of divorces because each person in the partnership is getting advice, and it's like, telling, the wife that she's right, it's telling the husband that he's right, and it's just causing friction and making things worse. And so
Oh
I thought that
God,
was really interesting.
there's a story I wish I could tell, but I can't tell it. But basically, it validates what you're talking about, where someone had an opinion about their significant other, and it started out small. The it was ChatGPT just said, you're in the right. Everything he's doing is wrong, and that was interesting just to see that, because it has your back
Mm-hmm.
immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and and it uses valid information out there in the general to say, this seems like you're getting the shaft here. You should make changes, and that can lead to, yeah, I can see how that can lead to separations for sure. Um,
Because yeah, it's telling you one thing and you're just like getting all riled up, like, yeah, that's he's a jerk. And then
mm.
yeah, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see things
Which is
change
funny
as we move
because I mean,
forward.
I feel like you might tell your best friend, like you might say, "Oh man, my wife did," and bitch about your ex, your significant other. But when you do it to your best friend, it's like you get it out, and then it's done. It's done with, right? You don't think about it anymore. And oftentimes that best friend just listens, or sometimes it makes a lot of sense. Sounds terrible. But for some reason, when you tell it to some anonymous robot, it's totally different. It enhances it rather than diffuses it. I'm not sure why,
Hmm.
but that's definitely a thing. Have you ever experienced like being too, like, talking to ChatGPT and kind of getting carried away? I don't think I have, but maybe I have. Have you had that feeling?
Yeah, I don't even remember how it started, but I don't know, but it started telling me, well, the reason you're like this is probably because in a past life you were this, and I was like, what? Like, and then I went down this whole rabbit hole of like, because it said I can tell you more about what
Wow.
potentially these, your characteristics, your personality characteristics, why you're this way based, like based on your past lives. And yeah, I got carried away. I started asking it about like people close to me, like, well, why is my significant other like this? What's his past life like? Yeah, and then I ended up creating I call it a spiritual Jeevius. Do you remember Ask Jeeves? And so I created a GPT that's called Jeevius that I just ask, just anything random, like instead of a Google search, I'll just ask my Jeevius.
Hmm.
Like, so after that, I was like, I'm going to create a spiritual GVS that will tell me, all this kind of woo woo stuff.
Well, there's a lot of woo woo material out there that these models have trained on, right? They've trained on the
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine stuff. They've trained on reincarnations and
Yeah.
other parts of the world. I mean, so it's not like it can really pull from that stuff and really sound like authentic and make a good case for it. So yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have one of those really open minds and you're just, that could be a problem for sure.
Well, remember that lady that we read that article about who ChatGPT told her that her soulmate was going to meet her at a specific place?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
I think that's pretty intense.
The belief that woman had, because not only did it happen once, it happened twice.
Twice.
Yeah. Oh, I was
Yeah.
wrong. I miscalculated that. It's kind of like the cult leader that says, the second coming is going to happen in 4 months, and then it doesn't happen. He's like, oh, I've looked back at the scripture and I made a mistake. It's going to happen in 4 more months, and there's been many cases like that. where
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
keep kicking the can down the road,
So
and
you haven't,
the flock accepts it. Everyone's like, "Oh
yeah.
yes, absolutely, we have faith."
There is a country that has an AI as their like their leader.
No,
Yes, look it
really?
up. Look it up.
Okay.
Ask
Ask Claude. Don't ask ChatGPT. I mean,
um,
we shouldn't give ChatGPT a bad rep because I want
no,
people
it
to
is
to explore them all because
yeah.
ultimately you're gonna there's gonna be leaders in the game. And I think at this point
Chat
early on, it's best to try different things, not stick with one thing.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that I tried Claude. I'm because now I they each have their strengths and they each have their weaknesses.
Hmm.
ChatGPT is more like a friend, that I just, want to have a good time with, chill time with, and Claude is more of like someone that I would go to for like to help with a project, like a that I wanted to
Yeah,
um use to
yeah,
impress. Yeah.
exactly.
Did you look it
Yeah.
up?
Well, what
The
would
leader?
okay, I can use Gemini. Do I have any more context to give it? World
Just yeah,
leader that
like
is.
country that uses AI as a leader, as a politician. And yeah, because I didn't believe it
Hmm,
at first. And it's a female AI. I wish
wow.
I had. Did you find it?
No, it's arguing with me. It's saying there's no such thing. Like there is.
I wish I had access to. Let's see, where's my other phone?
Okay, Albania is the closest to having a digital world leader. In late 2025, Albania made history by appointing an AI assistant to its government cabinet. This is probably it.
That's it.
Yeah, Albania, the Minister of AI. Prime Minister Edi Rama appointed Delia, meaning son, as the Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence. Delia serves as a virtual cabinet member. It's not her. Its primary function is to modernize government services and combat corruption by removing human bias from administrative decisions. I like this. That's the perfect use for it. Modernizing services, look at corruption, remove human bias. This robot doesn't have to make the final decision, but it can bring to light a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
What does that mean? Remove human bias. What other type
I
of
just
bias is there?
I view that as another form of corruption, or maybe a bias could be like there's all kinds of biases in bureaucracy. Any time where it would make logical sense when you look at this problem to do a certain thing, but since the bureaucracy does it one way, the bias is to keep on doing the same thing. I think
Mm,
that I see that as a primary thing.
okay. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so you learned something new.
it's good that they're trying this because they'll learn a lot, and then the next iteration, the next country that tries it will be even better at it. I wonder what model they use.
Yeah, Albania.
I
And then
bet
there's
I bet they're
also
using like a Chinese model. I bet they are.
probably, yeah. There were also priests as well teaching about the Bible.
That I think I've heard. Yeah, that seems fine too. I mean, there's been a lot of scholarship on the Bible. There's not much new scholarship on the Bible, right? So I think that'd be fine. I mean, it depends. Like, there's Bible study, there's scholarly examination of the Bible, and then there's reading the Bible for spiritual purposes. Those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to be a scholar of the Bible. I think AI is perfectly capable of that. I
Yeah.
see no reason not to do that.
Yeah.
When it comes to what it means, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure AI is there yet, nor should it be necessarily. I don't want my
Next,
spiritual advice coming from an AI.
yeah, yeah. Next time we should talk about someone did ask AI to discount everything that it's read or heard from, from the internet and to discuss whether there is a God or not. And the answer was actually really interesting.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk
We can
about that
talk
next
about that.
time. Yeah.
Okay. And then real quickly, last thing I wanted to say or ask actually was I think I'm going to do my avatar today, like as soon as we finish this podcast. And so I was wondering, so you said first go to 11 labs, is that right?
I want you to try something different because HeyGen just improved all their avatar stuff. So
Okay.
I'm going to try this too. I have it on, believe this is true. I think you could do the whole thing on HeyGen because going to 11 Labs, doing the voice and then doing the API, it's just, well, one, it's another subscription, right?
Oh, okay.
Two, it's complicated. And three, if HeyGen can do it, I just say do it with HeyGen. They've released a brand new model, Avatar 5. Once again, it's expensive. So you can probably be fine with Avatar 3 or 4. But yeah, try just HeyGen. Give that a
Okay, how
shot.
do you spell that?
Just Hey, HEY and GEN.
Okay. All right. So do the entire thing on that and do it on 3 or 4 and just pay the subscription for 3 or 4.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
and you could try, like, after you make your avatar. Avatar is just you recording yourself, right? So it doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be that long. I wouldn't spend more than 5 minutes making a recording. But when you do, make sure that you're overly expressive, that you talk quietly and you talk loudly and you smile, don't smile. Like, just be a clown, basically, for 5 minutes. That'll give you the best
Okay.
results.
Okay.
And then when you have that built, then you can, when you make a new AI generated video, you can try 3, you can try 4, you can even try 5, because you'll have credits for 5 with the subscription.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and see what the differences are. And if you like 4, I think it does cost a little bit more, but that's fine. If you love 5, well, you can just pay. You have to buy um, credits to use 5. But
Okay.
if you're not using it every day, it's probably fine to buy the credits. It depends how you want to use it. If you want to make YouTube shorts, I'd probably do 5. Just pay the money.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to do
Yeah,
that right now that I have my ring light out and my microphone and everything.
cool, awesome.
Yeah. All right.
All right, I think we're good.
Episode number 11, right? That's what this was,
Yes,
episode
I
11.
forgot to say that at the
You
start of the
forgot to
podcast.
say
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye everyone.
Open your mind now, this is right.